Hello, hello, and welcome to Unwind Your Mind, Week 1, Amplify the Present Moment, where we will be having some breathing experiences and looking at the breath and noticing the breath. Whether you're live or listening to this recording, welcome. I'm Jane Baldwin, and I'm going to be guiding you through a series of practices today. So we're in week 1, which is amplify the present moment. Next week, week 2, will be activate your comfort level, where we'll do some slow, gentle body movement with breathing and awareness so you can really track. Keep your mind focused on what's happening in your body. And the third week is access your calm mind. We'll be doing some breath work. So stay tuned. And I'll be talking more about that at the end of this program. I want to start off with a question. How often do you not slow down, but how often do you think or go to slow down and I really need to slow down, and then you are slowing down, but once you stop slowing down and get back to your work, it's like, oh gosh, I'm behind, or I feel even more overwhelmed, or you just can't quite seem to slow down. We put immense pressure on ourselves, and we're not even realizing that we're putting this pressure on ourselves. I have a friend who, she is a wonderful woman who helps caregivers and knows how to take care of herself and meditate and do all the things. But when her husband got sick and then her house flooded and she had a lot on her mind, and she did leave and take some time off for herself. But it wasn't until she came back from her time off and got sick herself that she realized, I thought I was slowing down, but I hadn't even given myself the permission. Like, my mind was still churning with all of the worries. And so, sometimes even if we know, our brain will tell us, yeah, you know how to do all the things and meditate and everything. But we still need to take the time to reflect on how our body feels and what's going on, and where we can even take more pressure off of ourselves, and really also invite and welcome feelings of comfort and support, and that will really help us. And we'll be talking more about that next week. So also, I have a story about that, because when I graduated from college and went to grad school in New Mexico, and I was living in New Mexico, and it was wonderful, lots of hiking, and I was very relaxed and having a great time, and thinking that I had taken all the pressure off of myself until I got cancer. And also had that feeling of like, oh, something stepped in the way to give me the permission I couldn't give myself, to really stop putting all this pressure on me to get my PhD, and to, be very aggressive about research, or, whatever was going through my head at the time. And so the other part of that is the thought. It was actually the thought, once cancer was gone, it can come back, that I just put my foot down and said, okay, I cannot live my life thinking these thoughts that are just going to send me into a tailspin. And so that's really when I started my healing journey. And so I want to know, and just jot this down on your own, but what are your thoughts? We all have these thoughts that project our fears into the future, such as mom had Alzheimer's, so I'm going to too. Or a wildfire could take me out in the night. It's usually something around an illness or a natural disaster, or government instability that we just really project into the future. And I'll be talking more in a little bit about how that the projecting our fears into the future, how that kind of plays out in the present moment. So, this is why it is important to amplify the present moment, know how to amplify your present moment and create your own sense of peace. We're putting this pressure on ourselves, we're creating this undue stress, projecting our fears into the future. And, so what's happening is that our thoughts are really filtering through what's happening outside of us. They're coming in, and our experience is being played out in our body, and our tension and our tightness and our sickness and our illness, and decisions we make about things because we feel constricted or afraid. And, this is based on thoughts we have that are ideas we've picked up, or thoughts or beliefs that we've inherited. So we're going to look a little bit at that as well. And the more that we can be aware of these and we can pull those out and really look at them and know if that's really the way we want to continue going forward, what we want to be believing, that's a choice that we have. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. So I want to do a quick activity with you, just a check-in. We've been talking about thoughts, so I want you to take a couple of moments here and just jot down thoughts that you've had today. So like when you woke up, like thoughts that aren't helpful and maybe help to sabotage you a little bit, or create resistance in you. So it could be thoughts you had this morning or this afternoon around lunchtime, or maybe right before you got on this call. Just anything, 2 or 3 thoughts that are very familiar to you. I'll just give you a minute for this. And this is important to jot down 2 or 3 thoughts because in a little bit, we're going to be doing another activity with them and adding on to this. And this is a great practice that I use. The people I work with find it very helpful to really pick their thoughts out and see the ones that have been inherited that they really aren't serving them. And so, all right, so the next thing, just like on a different sheet of paper or on the other half of this paper, write down using like the same thoughts or the same instances when the thought happened, and check in using your childlike mind, your child's mind. So the child's mind is very welcoming, very accepting. It's inquisitive, easily awed, right? So an example would be like if your current thought or one of your thoughts today was, oh, I'm not sure if I have time to do this whole class or this whole hour today. A child's mind might come in and go, wow, oh, what adventures are we going to go on today? What am I about to discover? What's here? What's going on? Why is the sun shining so bright today? How did it come up in the same place? I mean, our kids just won't stop asking questions. And that is the energy and that wonderment that we really want to access and activate within us. So just pick 1 or 2 of your thoughts and see what kind of fun and exciting and wonderful things you can come up with about it. So before I was a coach, I was an archaeologist in the jungles of Belize. And I'd explore the jungles and wander upon these temples. That's a temple right behind me there, covered with centuries of growth. And through discoveries in these temples and around these temples, we really got to experience and discover the wisdom of the ancient Maya in all of the different practices. I specifically studied their architecture and relationships of the architecture. And so by understanding their history and their stories, could be revealed many things that were hidden by time. And so in the next 3 weeks, I'm going to guide you to explore and discover what has been covered up in you with history and over time. This can be insights, your wisdom, core beliefs that have been buried under these old ideas about who you are or what you were told you were, inherited beliefs that people told you, that you're ready to see and even let go of. So just check in right now. How does this land? Notice any tension in your body, your shoulders, constriction maybe around your jaw. Our jaws tend to get really tight. A feeling of compression maybe around your diaphragm and your solar plexus, which really constricts your breathing, maybe some shallow breathing. And just jot down some quick notes about what you're feeling right now. I want to do an activity with you here. I call this slow, and I like to start with it as a check-in. So this is where we really get to activate that childlike sense of curiosity and wonder, because slow helps us really get curious. It can help you really get curious about your body, what's there, your tension, your tightness. So when you feel heavy and dense, or your breath feels short and shallow, or your thoughts are rapid and spinny, you can use slow. So you say, where can I soften right now? What needs softening? So maybe like your eyes or your jaw, right? So just soften your face, the skin of your face. What needs lengthening? Like what maybe feels compressed and needs lengthening? I like to lengthen the back of my neck, just my whole spine. Where can I open? What needs opening? I like to open wide across my chest or my collarbones, which helps to drop the shoulder blades down my back. And then W is widen. Where can I widen? What needs widening? What about the side ribs? Just widen the side ribs. They expand on the inhale, and as you exhale, just let them continue to widen and expand. Slow helps you to dig in, find a doorway, find a pathway into not only slowing down, but the desire to slow down. It invites more noticing and awareness in our body. So like you notice tension, you bring softening there, you'll feel ease, right? You notice constriction, you open, you may notice flow. So when you're in, so here's the thing about the present moment, is when you're not present and you're not right here with slow and some of these other techniques that we're going to go through today, you're either in the past or in the future. So worries, you can be worried about something that happened yesterday or the day before, or living in some old idea that you were thinking about that you remembered from your childhood. anything from your past, regrets, these pull you back into the future, ruminations, and fears and worries pull you into the future. So you've got the past pulling at you, you've got your future fears pulling at you. So the past is dragging you. It's like a what's the rope that you I can't think of it right now. It's been so long since I played team games, but the rope is being pulled from both ends, and there's no presence. There's no space for presence. So you have to create that space, and slow is a great way to start. And so that's why we practice these short exercises to really tap into the present moment. You know, I had a client, Cheryl. She had 5 kids, all of them, none out of high school yet, single mom. She was working in a hospital as a maternity breathing teacher, as a yoga teacher. She was very knowledgeable in her craft, but like everyone else, she had worries. She had regrets from the past. She was afraid she wanted to be, wasn't good enough for her kids. She wasn't doing enough for her kids. She had a lot of guilt when people needed her. And so she was short of breath. And she was afraid to tell anyone because she was a breathing coach and a yoga teacher. And so she was operating under that old moniker of, I have to go it alone. You know, this is an inherited belief that if you're not going it alone and like scaling that mountain by yourself and figuring it all out by yourself, you know, that's the noble pursuit. That's when you'll know that you're strong, when you've done it alone. But when you're in worry and fear and regret and you're not present, that is not a sustainable way to live. And so when we worked together, and within the first month, she was remembering to present herself more. She was giving herself permission to be more present, feeling more supported, more peaceful. And then she had less guilt and worry. She just knew, she recognized them when they come up. She had a plan for what she wanted to be thinking and feeling besides guilt and worry, and was really able to really outcreate those old habits and those old ways of being. And so, you know, that brings me to what doesn't work on its own. We all love books. We love podcasts and courses and certifications. If you're a learner like me, love that stuff. But if you don't have a way to integrate it into your personal experience, you'll get the information, but it's very difficult and can be impossible to actually put it into practice and keep practicing at it until it becomes your new normal and your new habit. And so, you know, there are days when you just don't want to do it, and you don't have time, and that's when you need a coach. And that's what a coach helps you do, is to be accountable with that, not only with showing up, but when you don't is a really big time when you can be really hard on yourself and just think, oh, I'm not good at this, and just quit. So, you know, this idea that you have to go it alone, we support each other, we help each other. When you get the support you need, you go farther, faster, and you have more fun doing it. Okay, so take those thoughts that you had at the beginning, those 2 or 3 thoughts that you came in with, that you've had throughout the day, that you're familiar with because it's not the first time that you've thought it, probably. And we're going to do a little thought reflection exercise. And so what this does is this helps you separate your thought from who you are, because we're not our thoughts, and they're usually right on top of each other, so it's easy to think that I am my thoughts. And this is going to show you how you're not your thoughts. Here's the thing is, we were not taught in school to train our brain and to calm our mind. These are ideas that have developed recently, and they are being proven time and time again that it is possible to retrain your brain, and it brings more peace and joy. And so that's what we're doing. So take your thoughts that you have and just look at each one, and what feeling does it bring up? Look at the first one. What's the feeling behind it? Like, what feeling that doesn't support you is there with that thought, right? So if the thought is, I might not be able to do this work. When I think of that thought, it gives me anxiety. So I'm like, okay. So then you would frame the sentence, my anxiety is telling me that I might not be able to do this work. So then you just go to the next one. What's the feeling? Okay, so my anxiety is telling me, and then your thought, that I might not be able to do this work. So through that, you can see how your thoughts and your feelings work in tandem together. And when your thoughts are running rampant, and you're thinking these thoughts that are not supporting you, your feelings aren't going to be supporting you either. And so with this idea, let's just take this idea of wanting to create some support for you around your thoughts and feelings to getting really present. And we'll do that with this first activity, which is a breathing activity. And I just wanted to address this slide here, that this is one of my clients that doing these breathing exercises made me realize and release things I didn't know existed. And so there is more in these breathing, like your brain can't think, oh, when I do the breathing exercises, here's what's going to happen, because you're entering into a feeling space that is separate from your thinking space. And so that's what we're activating. We're activating this feeling space that has more information. So you can think about it in a way, your thoughts, thinking, what your thoughts process, there's information there, and that's great. But there's this whole other area of information that isn't accessed until you're able to tap into your feelings, notice your feelings, articulate your feelings, know what you want to be feeling, bring those feelings in. And so that's where we're working. And that's when you start to realize new things, release things that you don't even have to think. You don't have to think like, oh, I became aware of this, now I'm going to release it. Sometimes they just release. So, all right. So let's just look at this. This is Thich Nhat Hanh. I did not write that as a quote. So I just want you to know that that's the monk. Thich Nhat Hanh said, as you breathe in, be aware you're breathing in. As you breathe out, notice you're breathing out. As soon as we pay attention to our breath, body, breath, and mind come together. So this is what we'll be practicing today. So we start by just notice your breath. Notice your breathing. Now, as you breathe in, be aware you're breathing in. You just say to yourself, I'm breathing in. As you exhale, I'm breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. Now, at some point, a thought's going to come in. No problem. Just return to your breathing. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I follow my breath in. I follow my breath out. Mind wanders, return to the breath. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. Mind wanders into thinking, just bring it back to the breath. This is a practice. It helps practice acceptance. Just we accept that we have thoughts and we think. We're not trying to push them away. We're just like, thought, check, back to the breath. Notice your breathing in. Notice your breathing out. There's a thought. I've returned to the breath. So this is a really great way to just play with your attention, invite some of that childlike curiosity. Okay, I'm breathing. How long is it going to take before my mind wanders into thinking? Oh, there it is. I'm going to come back to the breath. And the more you can make it playful and fun, your mind will forget that it's trying to tell you not to do that thing. It'll be like, oh, squirrel, let's do this. You keep your mind engaged by going, yep, that's a thought. Bring it back to the breath. I'm noticing my breathing. I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out. My body, my breath, and my mind are one. Oop, thought. Returning my mind, my body, and my breath to the same plane. So you can use this practice whenever you need to get really present, because when you are noticing that you're breathing in and you notice that you're breathing out, you are present. And when the mind wanders and you go, oh, you wandered, that's okay. You are present. And when you return it to the breath, you are present. So it's not about thinking or thinking or not. It's about being present to what is happening in the moment. And so when your mind wanders into thinking and you recognize that you're present and you know to bring it back to the breath. So this is a really great exercise to really start honing your focus and getting used to tracking your breath, your thoughts, and your breath and your thoughts, because that's really, and your attention to your breath and your thoughts. That's what it is. So I want to go a little bit into these inherited beliefs that we have, and how, as I mentioned before, it is things that we have heard either from a teacher or a parent or a grandparent, or a belief that we have attached to from the internet, that sounds like my story, that really are embedded in just some old inherited beliefs that probably aren't supporting you in the best way that you can be supported. And some of them, most of them are not supporting you at all, but they did to a certain point in your development. So one example is, as I mentioned from the story earlier, is going it alone, that it's noble to just go it alone, do it on my own. I've got to get this done. I know nobody can help me. Doing that and somehow makes you stronger, or like you'll be stronger, because my dad always said, love many, trust few, only always paddle your own canoe. This idea that I'm going to be strong if I do it alone. Another thing is that hard work or battle scars, if you were in a family with a lot of battle scars, that somehow this is a badge of honor, or doing hard work, like doing something that is easy or fun. There's no badge of honor there. And so that would be another one. Also, the idea that you need a reward for something you've done. So you can't you can't give yourself permission yet, or you can't enjoy or have pleasure or allow yourself certain things or ways of thinking or being because the work's not done yet, or you haven't done what you need to do to get the reward. And a lot of these things, really, you have to catch them when you least expect it, because they know how to hide. And so just be looking for those as you start tracking your thoughts. So we're going to go into another activity very similar to the one before, and it starts with the breath. So you can just breathe in and be aware of your breathing. And just breathe and follow your breath until a thought comes in. And you might want to close your eyes for this one. It's actually better to close your eyes for this one. So as you breathe, you notice your breathing. When a thought comes in, notice the thought. When you notice the thought, what are the sounds in your room? The sounds that you hear. When you hear the sounds, go back to your breathing. You can hear your breathing. You can feel your breathing. And stay there until you think of a thought. And then when your mind wanders into thinking and you notice, listen to sounds. What sounds do you hear? And that way you can just bounce between sound, breath, thought, sound, breath, thought, sound, breath, thought. And then just come back and take a moment and just feel into your space, into your body. You're using breath as a bridge between the mind and the body to connect them. You know, you might want to jot down anything that came up for you, any feelings or sensations or thoughts. So I just want to take a moment and review all the ways that we looked at today to amplify your present moment awareness. So, and you can use these anytime. There is the check-in. So you can just do a check-in with your serious mind, all the serious thoughts you're thinking. And then say, well, what would I have been thinking in that situation in my child's mind? Or you can do it in real time and do a check-in when you're at the grocery store or at a basketball game. Check in. What am I thinking? How am I feeling? Well, at a basketball game, you're probably already in your child's mind. So let's say at work, in traffic, wherever you are, and your brow is furrowed. What are you thinking? And what would you be thinking in your childlike mind? So that's number one. Number two is using slow, which is soften, lengthen, open, widen. Where can I soften? Where can I lengthen? Where can I open more? What can I widen? Just creating that space in your body that you crave, that you desire. The third is the thought reflection. So you've got your thought that you thought. Now, what's the feeling associated with that thought? And sometimes it's easy to, if you're like, I don't know, feeling, I don't know. Well, if you say the thought, where maybe you have a ping, ping in your body. If you go to that place in your body the feeling might more easily reveal itself. And then you turn that into a sentence. Blank feeling, the feeling of blank is saying that whatever the thought is. My anxiety is saying that I don't have time for this today. Number 4 is bouncing between, or gliding. I like to glide between notice and when your mind wanders into thinking and returning to the breath, because this is part of my unwinding compass that we'll be continuing to build on in week 2 and 3. So notice, wander, and return, just practicing those. And then the 5th way that you can work with the present moment is by focusing on your breath, noticing your thought, and then noticing the sounds that you hear, and then back to the breath, thought, and sound. So what happens when you create a practice out of this and you do this over time? And that is that our brains are not static. They're changing over time. They have neuroplasticity, which means that you can create new grooves and patterns and firing of new neurons and all of the hormones that secrete the feel good, serotonin and oxytocin and all the good feel good vibes, just by working in this space of being in the present moment, being aware of thoughts and feelings. So, the way it works is the more aware of a thought you can be. So when you check into thoughts, or you have these you're noticing painful memories or inherited beliefs, like the more that you can notice these and have that awareness, then you can recognize, is this thought, belief, memory aligning with who I am now, who I want to be, how I want to feel? And then that's what creates the opportunity for change. And that's where you create and you come up with the thoughts and the feelings that you want to be walking through this life with. And that's practicing in that space is what rewires your neural pathways to create you becoming the person that you want to be, the image you want to see of yourself, what you want to be thinking, how you want to be feeling. And that's what happens. You have this new growth. Out of darkness comes the light, right? So I want to offer this to you, that these ideas, they're great in theory, they're great to learn, but I've been practicing these for over 20 years, and it's changed how I interact with myself, with other people in the world, and all the people around me. People who work with me also have had these profound changes with feeling settled, feeling more present. And, this is what I want to be a living example of. I mean, every single day as I grow my business, I'm pushing through old, tired thoughts and ideas around who I thought I was going to be from my childhood, and what people told me I was supposed to be and what I was supposed to do. And so, these practices have empowered me and helped me get out of my own way. And that's how I know that they can work for you as well. And the fact that I've also seen them work in many of the people that I work with. So there will be this will be a replay, and you may be watching this as a replay. You can watch it again, practice the activities. And that's a great first step. It's a very important first step in building your awareness and getting present and growing your confidence and eventually rewiring your pathways. But if you're not giving yourself permission in a space of where you're used to allowing yourself to just be a certain way, be it, different from the structures and the strictures that we're used to, or really prioritizing slowing down. So that is allowing slowing down is really what I'm talking about, which can be very challenging, or prioritizing your slowing down and building your mind-body bridge and developing this personal invitation, then you'll understand it in theory, but not in the practice. And this is the relationship between your thoughts and your feelings. And so how you react to different circumstances. And, that's what's going to change your results, is how you think and feel about things. And if you're thinking and feeling in the same way, even though you've got these new ideas, then you're not going to see much change. The other thing is, when you're learning a new practice, you really have to allow a sense of grace, because as you build these new neural pathways, it's like constructing a new road, right? It takes time, observation, planning, checking in. You've got to welcome all of you to this, because it's easy to think, I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough. And you've got to return again and again with this childlike mind. And so it's a lot of fun to do that, to create and cultivate the grace and return again and again with this childlike mind, and welcoming all of you to the practice. And so, I first want to invite you to attend the rest of this series. We've got week 2 coming up, which is sensory movement. It's yoga in the sense that you'll be tracking your breath with the movement as you notice movements and changes happening in your body. But we're not going into traditional yoga poses. That is not what we will be doing. But we will be on the floor. You'll need to be in comfortable, loose-fitting clothing and just ready to really let go, slow down your body, and to slow down your mind. That's the way this works. We're getting in the body, because when you take the time to slow down your body and track your breath and movement in your body, that helps to really slow down your mind in a really powerful way. It's just another way to welcome and invite the slowdown process into your experience. And then in week 3, we're going to do breath work. So again, you'll want to wear comfortable, loose-fitting clothing, have your journal handy. And for both of these sessions, you'll be on the floor, and you'll be having an experience rather than me telling you something. So when you work with me weekly, these are practices that I do with the people that work with me. And we do these in one session a week. And then in a second session, which is your coaching session, I help you process through whatever came up in the body sessions, which are generally no talking. It's you and your journal. And so with these two, a talking session and a feeling session, this is how you can really start to apply these practices and see how the effects that your thinking, your feeling, your inherited beliefs are having on your day-to-day experience. And so I'd also like to invite you to schedule a discovery call with me, because it really is one-on-one support is the difference between, leaving today, practicing, and then slowly tapering off these practices, and then maybe picking them up again as a New Year's resolution with great intention, but then really losing steam and motivation, because you really don't know how to give yourself the permission to continue going. It can be easy to really be hard on yourself, or feel like you're doing it wrong, tell yourself you're doing it wrong, or you're not good enough, or this really isn't the thing for you. And so that's what a coach does. A coach is not only accountability, but also egging you on to just keep going and motivate you, and that you're doing a great job, because very rarely do we tell ourselves that we're doing a great job. That too is a practice that we have to regroove in our brain. So you've got the difference between doing the practice on your own, which you can totally do, but there's a lot of stops and starts when you do it. I strongly recommend it. And there's also this one-on-one support with the weekly coaching, the weekly coaching session, and then the body breath work and journaling. And in the coaching session, we work where you're at with an activity like today, and then you also get a personalized 10-minute meditation. So that's an hour-long co-creation accountability session, and we work through your obstacles and resistance that you're having for the week and help you create these new neural pathways. And here's what ends up happening. You learn how to give yourself permission and prioritize your peace, and give yourself grace, and invite these comfortable, peaceful, serene feelings to really guide you and be part of your experience, and develop that personal invitation, and build your mind-body bridge, and work consistently to get your thoughts and your feelings aligned with what you want to experience in the moment. And more peace, more joy, more self-support. I want to finish with a story. One of my clients had a habit of wine and Netflix after work, and she wanted a new habit. And so she worked together. We worked together the first couple of months. We worked together, and she was able to really get some distance from her thoughts, and then be more in her body with the sensory work. And then I think it was in the breath work where she had a memory of that her dad would have a scotch every night, and that meant it's done. Like, he would come home, have a scotch, that meant the work was done. So she inherited this feeling that it wasn't done. She wasn't done with work until she sat down and chilled out and had some alcohol. When she had that awareness, that's what she needed to say, oh, well, I can do that with kombucha. I can do that with tea. I can do that with lemonade. I don't need to do that with wine. I can still have this feeling of completion. I get to choose if I do want to have it with wine. And so it's just awareness is creating opportunities and growing your new neural pathways, recognizing the thoughts that you have and the feelings you have, switching them out with the ones you want to be experiencing, and creating those new habits for yourself. So I just want to end with some final thoughts here, and that is that no matter what your thoughts are telling you, and the feelings that go with those thoughts, there's always hope. So the best thing to do is to make a plan, and you can start now by picking your favorite exercise from today and then setting aside the time to do it. So, you know, um, it's easy to get off a call like this and think, okay, I'm going to start doing this one breathing practice that's notice, wander, return every single morning. Um, and that, again, that puts you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself when you do that. And if you don't have a daily practice yet, then be easy, let it be easy, and say, okay, I'm going to do it twice a week. Like my easiest 2 days are like Saturday and Sunday. And then if you do it more, if you wake up and go, oh, I really want to do it today, great. But you can celebrate these small wins and set yourself up for success. So that's another thing that we work on together is how are you going to set yourself up for success? Not like, oh, I failed again. I didn't do it this Saturday and Sunday, so I have to start all over. And that's not the case at all. You just skipped a Saturday and Sunday, but you really enjoy doing the practice, right? So, overwhelm comes easy when we take on too much. And so I show you how to take on these bite-sized experiences, smaller than your brain. Your brain wants to just take it all and prove that you can do it all. But you can train your brain to say, this is the best thing for me right now, to take this small bite-sized piece. And then after I've tasted that one, I can taste another one, right? So a great way to, if you want to add one of these in, is to pair it with a current habit. So if you have something that you're already doing on Saturday and Sunday morning, like if you do the crossword, you can do this, you can do the notice, wander, return for a couple of minutes before your crossword. It only takes a couple of minutes to really start to feel the benefits, and also to set that parameter that it can be easy. And so I just want to leave you with how to find me on all of the socials. You can schedule your discovery call from the best way is from my email, or I also have a pretty robust Instagram Instagram link tree in my bio. So that would be the best ways to get a hold of me. And so I do just want to run through, because this comes up as a question a lot. It's like, what is the discovery call like? And here's what we look at is you just show up on the call and you just tell me what's going on in your life right now, like just 2 or 3 things that are going on. And then give me some insight into why you want it to change, what you do want to see, what you want your future to be like, how you want it to be different. And from that, I'll be able to create a personalized strategy for you for a 6-month capsule of us working together. And that will help you to be bringing in more presence and more joy, more peace. And once you learn that, you'll have it. You'll always have it. You'll be able to take it with you anywhere and use it anytime that you need to slow down. You'll know how to allow yourself to slow down, give yourself permission to slow down, be able to find that peace and really reside there. So I look forward to seeing you next week, week 2, which is creating comfort in your body. Thank you.